wholeness is a state of consciousness. It finally has nothing to do with the coming about of it. The single development now coming into the earth is the always present truth in this limited configuration that knowledge can be gained by a shift in consciousness or a transformative occurrence. This is very rudely denied sociologically, of course. There would be an implication that somehow someone would be more advanced in his ideas and be able to exercise through ideas control over his sociological situations. And in fact, this is what occurs in the world, of course. Everyone finally attempts to exercise control over their sociological situations. It's inevitable that they do that. The notion that there is an involvement of genetics, if you will, or karma in the response of the limited, apparently limited consciousness or entity causes the idea of varying degrees of maturation, which affords for all sorts of strange hierarchies ranging from perhaps the Hindu system of the Brahma to the untouchable, or the king to the commoner, and includes all of man's ideas of himself in limited association with the final truth of his godhood. For a Christ or an advanced so-called consciousness to come among you and teach that you may now undergo a transformative occurrence that will bring about a new consciousness in you, finally must be rigorously denied. The whole basis of your consciousness is on independence from Source. There are many consciousnesses now coming into the New Age thinking where they are the cause of this. The direct quotes now emanating from all recent spiritual literature, and as far back as man has been here, indicates that your conception is what's giving this any form of reality it may seem to have to you. And of course that's very true. But what goes hand in hand with that, and here's the difficulty, okay? In one sentence I say to you, you are responsible for this. You. And in the next sentence I say to you, you did not make yourself. Now you're caught. If you carry that a step further, what I said to you is the earth is your construct. Okay. but the earth is no more real than you are in its actual communication or creative energy. We teach only come home to source. It is a giant step indeed to get community, establishment in this limited phase of consciousness to even acknowledge that truth can be gained through an occurrence, through a transformative process, although it's taught everywhere in the religious community. The scientific community is inevitably faced with the dilemma of genius, as is art, and inevitably denies it. And more particularly denies their own obvious potential, since it is their observation of the art that was brought about through their own configuration. The truth is that if you don't extend the idea of transformation, there is no possibility that you will ever communicate. It is the one single thing that you can say in the illusion. This can be overcome. This can be recognized. We can take your apparent diversity and bring it into singularity. We can show you a new way of looking at things. Perhaps we will show you that the most obvious occurrence here is the consciousness's realization that he has constructed death. And in the limited state in which you have conceived yourself, I assure you that you're going to die. But what a strange thing to do. Contained within you and your ideas, since you have expressed it, is an idea of truth and eternity. Why is it then that everything that you see here in limited perception obviously is in a state of dying? Psychical. Keeps being born and maturing and dying. It's in a framework of time and space. Because you're in a framework of time and space. Is there turmoil and pain, and anger finally? In the idea of your ultimate and inevitable death? I would think there very would be. Quite obviously, all of your manifestations of disease, apparent hatred, attempts at communion, must be based on the idea of your ultimate death. That's absurd. That doesn't make any sense. But yet, if I present you with the absolute proposition of eternity, because of the nature of your limited construction, you deny me and actively pursue retention of the limited consciousness that must inevitably lead you to demise or annihilation. How unreasonable of you. What would be reasonable about death? What is reasonable really about pain? Limitation. Obviously, the basis of limited consciousness is recognition of a form of selfness identified as existing in a state of limitedness or lack, with the obvious need to sustain that level of consciousness, to survive. If I present you with a proposition that nothing that is not forever is real, it requires your double take. The notion that you have come into that this is your construct will lead you directly to the truth, because it allows you to configurate the absoluteness that nothing is outside of you. Very simply, there is nothing without your conception of it, obviously. How paradoxical the notion of objectivity. The notion of separation. It seems so absurd that anybody would look at the idea of two things being separate. Obviously, their construction then is based on not knowing apparently what the object is that they're viewing. That's crazy. That's senseless. So they study the limitation instead of the wholeness. They philosophize on their own false configuration, on their own apartness. Wow. As you go through your regenerative process, you begin to stand aside from this chaos. And this can be perceived as very conflictual. You no longer feel needs to participate in sociological death ritual of relationships which reject, or the intense need to accomplish limited goals. These things lose their meaning to you. But since earth consciousness is only derived from memory, all of the entities in states of duality around you are constructing you in their own limited parameters of consciousness. If you deviate from that and they are unable to adjust to it, they will attack you or deny you. Of course. If you look at it from your own conception, it would be obvious to you that since you are the creator or miscreator of everything about you, the only thing that could ever cause you pain or fail you, okay, would be your own idea about it. Obviously, everybody here is going through anger and pain and attack and defense because of their own ideas. If we take the next step, we come to the inevitable conclusion that you are being attacked by your own thoughts. And of course you are. You are only memory. You're a limited memory machine. The direct necessity for the body in perception is based on the retention of memory, of schism. And it's all in you. It's not outside of you. Every idea that you're having in sorting out is still with you. You have an idea of beauty, but it's always in relationship with ugliness. So you shun or put aside, apparently in your limited state, the ugliness. It does not go away. How do you exercise ugliness or evilness? The devil, the limited part of you, the configurations of attack and defense. You can never overcome apparent evil by combating it. We stand on the mount and say, resist not evil. Literally, do not defend yourself from your own ideas. The only thing that could ever be limiting or evil is your thought. Your kingdom is not of this world. You're not from here. All of your equations of apparent justice lead nowhere. All of your configurations of give and take and have and hold and live and die have no value whatever except the value that you have given them in your mind. Listen to me. If you give the earth value, it has value. You do not get rid of it by establishing its valuableness and then attempting to give it up. Cool. So we teach be whole and true and real and love and extend and be defenseless. Mostly we teach forgive. Never mind the equation that you're only forgiving your own thoughts. That'll come next. That you can only give to yourself. That'll come next. That you can only finally forgive yourself. That will come next. That we finally teach an occurrence of know yourself. That will come to you. Dare you start with the premise that you are the only living Son of God? How else can you come to the truth if you don't start with the premise of truth? If no idea is outside of you, who then is truth? Who is all consciousness in the universe? There is nothing separate from you. You hold the universe in the palm of your hand. How will the earth be saved then? Okay. How will we return to love and beauty and truth? When you change your own mind, and only in that manner. Come reason with me about the inevitability of your consciousness. Attempt within your own framework of memory and consciousness to conceive of death now. See how the veil comes over your head? Attempt to look at darkness. Attempt to see, attempt to consciousize annihilation. Do you see that the awakening process is the death process? The subtraction of the limited you is all that the transformation really is. The resurrection, the enlightenment. The history of the universe is contained in you. There is no thought of variation in the construct of consciousness that is not contained in you. You are the I Ching. You are the master genetic code. You are all of history. Religiously, you are the way and the light. Scientifically, everything arises from your consciousness. If there is nothing outside of you, all apparent parts must contain the whole. I assure you they do. The whole could never be the sum of its parts if you are the summer. One plus one could never be two, for the plus is only you. Wherever two or more are gathered, I am there. Of course. How simple. Make the stew then, divine cooks. And when you're finished, jump into the pot. What an incredible idea of freedom ensues with the realization or the acceptance of the responsibility for the universe. The incredible knowledge that the universe is finally benign, that nothing ever really stands opposed to anything. Nothing is in friction with reality or truth. Wow. You lay down your rusty saber, you stand aside from the fray, and you say, I won't participate in this any longer. How easy it is to see historically that the idea of Christhood must be persecuted, must be crucified, of course. The whole basis of configuration of consciousness in regard to establishment and limitation is based on the idea of death. If I come among you and say you cannot die, what I'm really saying to you is that if you will come with me, the earth will collapse. Of course. There's a beautiful quote from Brother Jesus Christ in Course in Miracles, where he says, you really think that you came here and found the earth in duality waiting for you to bring about its transformation. On the contrary, if you're not here in your own consciousness, the earth is not here either. That's why you are defined as the only living Son of God. There are no idle thoughts. Nothing in truth is discrete. What would it be discrete from? To what purpose would it stand aside from unity? Or could? No, no. All around you is energies manifest in duality, broken up again and again and again. You look for reason in it. You look for it in the limited state of your own consciousness to bring about a unity. And that's your sole purpose in consciousness. To escape the chaos that you have created. Wow. To remember that you are the cause and not the effect. Wow. To realize that you are only Adam dreaming, and will awaken at this moment to the truth of you. And all your yesterdays are gone. You can't construct your tomorrows. In giving up your yesterdays, you take all of your historic incidences and perfect them in the glory of the realization of their inevitable capacity to bring about your awakening. You do not stand in judgment of your karma, of your past experiences. You release your resentments. You forgive. You extend your love. And you come home. Is heaven real? You bet your boots it's real. There's another beautiful quote of Brother Jesus where he says, nothing outside of heaven is alive. Which means that you are in a deep sleep with your death wish. The construction of death is fearful and hateful and denies truth. Anything that could die could never have been alive. Wow. Therefore, be grateful for the occurrence in you. You be humble before the majesty of the universe. The truth will be made known unto you. You will recognize in your own self the fullness and wholeness of all consciousness. You will extend from you only the truth of you as you have recognized yourself. Stand aside then. It is impossible for you to do a wrong. How difficult it is for you to accept absolute forgiveness. how strong the notion of cause and effect. How difficult the final concept that cause and effect stand as a single thing, with no time between. In our transformation teachings, we are shortening time to bring you into the moment of your unity and of your truth. Is it experiential? It is only experiential. All around you are rays and energies and sounds of a creative universe. Your dilemma lies in the notion of potential. From the idea of potential, you create futurizing or time. All consciousness is full-blown at all moments. Everything that could ever be is running full tilt. Wow. Wow. And you are it. Don't bind yourself. Be free. You cast your bread upon the water. Is it a full endeavor? Does it require purpose? Yes. Full commitment brings immediate result. Of course. You are individually very select. You are indeed chosen. Without you, heaven could never be complete. We are at the omega point together. Therefore, be of good cheer. What does Brother Jesus say in Course in Miracles? Blasphemy can be defined as depression and anger and resentment. Wow. You can't blaspheme against God, but you can against yourself, can't you? The truth has nothing to do with this. Only you have to do with this. And in that acknowledgement is indeed your salvation. One and one are not then two. One and one are three. Then one and one are one. What an extraordinary occurrence to see that light. To know that it's really happening to you. That you are in this process. Not someone else. Right? Not someone historic. Not a guru. Not a Jesus. The recognition that you as man become man-God. Just you. Wow. Teach the other. That brings the denial to the surface. It's a direct confrontation with the limited self. Is the ending foreseeable? Indeed it is. You have constructed it in your own consciousness and are bringing it about. Thank you. We thank you, dear brother, for the occurrence of you and your Christhood. Wow. We never could have done it without you. You are indispensable to the truth equation. And your creations await you in joy and harmony, and love and truth. Welcome home. Welcome home. Take the single most difficult thing, I've said this a lot of times, is that this transfiguration, that this enlightenment, that this transformative occurrence involves all of you. It is not limited to your body, brain, for goodness sake. Okay? It involves your ductless glands, if you will. But not in separation from the rest of you. It's total. I would have to be totally involved. You cannot bring about a spiritual transformation without a bodily change. It can't be done, of course not. The whole basis of the apocalypse or the revelation is the movement of the passion within your body, for crying out loud. Is that too esoteric now? Wow, the high prophet contained in the Edgar Cayce readings in the 30s. The beautiful book on a comparison of the simile, the metaphor, the allegory of the consciousness of the body in relationship to the ductless glands and the churches in Revelation. Holy mackerel. You are all history. And that occurrence can bring about some very strange aberrations within your own state of configuration, of course, and will. Finally, it requires acceptance of all of you. Everything that happens to you now is in direct correlation with your own transformative occurrence. Would have to be. Would have to be, of course. It is going on in you. Yes, indeed it is. Wow. All disease is a denial of spiritual energy or an inability to create in truth. Of course. If disease is real, there is no truth. You cannot construct disease or pain or sorrow outside of you and then repair it. It's a strange notion. Construction of an idol, a limited God, a caprice God. Wow. All power is given unto you in heaven and earth. Greater things will you do than I have done. Where is Armageddon then? Huh? Where is this incredible deliverance? Only in you. Yes. Very lovely, thank you. Finally, I want to put this on. I want you to hear this. Finally, what's occurring in full endeavor, and this is in Course in Miracles, this is a course in reasoning to the truth of mastership or Christhood or avatarship. Okay? That's what we teach. The Master Da John, Brother Franklin, incredible awakening consciousness, teaches the Eastern tradition with a lot of Western vernacular, the idea of his Christhood. He is an awakened. He is the only living Son of God, of course. We're just going to take that a step further, and he is much aware of this, and present you with the inevitable conclusion, since there is only one final state of consciousness in truth, that you must be that state. Okay? Now, you can teach it out of Course in Miracles. If you will look at Brother Da John from the Course in Miracles or the Jesus idea and forgive him totally, okay, which is really all that we teach, you will recognize that indeed he is the only living Son of God. Who do you think is sitting around me here? Of course. The fault always lies in the judgment of someone somehow being what? Further advanced or further behind you in his spiritual acumen. But remember, if you judge him at all, you judge him falsely. And there's the problem. Inevitably, in coming to the truth, we create stages or hierarchies of consciousness. And this is in the sense of apparent reality very true. But the second that a notion arrives in you that you are in the fourth stage and identify yourself and are working on the fifth or the sixth or the seventh, that's absurd. The moment that you acknowledge the possibility of a seventh stage, you literally entered that stage and denied it. You could not configure the notion of God without being true. You are in a constant state, obviously, of schism. There's a false notion in association with time. I want to say this, too, that some particular identities or configurations are born with more capacities than others. That'll keep you here a long time, brother. I'm sorry, but it's not true. You immediately, through recognizing another apparent Christhood, have denied your own, unless you will recognize it fully, in which case you will see that you are only him.
You're trying to say the Jews aren't the chosen people?
Yeah, we say that the definition of Jew is chosen, historically, and that all who have come into a configuration of apparent duality are chosen and have been chosen in the truth establishment. It's inevitable. It doesn't have anything to do, obviously, with race or establishment on earth. But there is a big one chromosome difference between a chimpanzee and a human being. You bet your boots. That's the chosen element. If 99% genetically, chromosomally, of an ape is the same as a man, obviously that's the other 1% that is the chosen part. Okay, but the dilemma is this. The chimpanzee is perfect in its chimpanziness. I've said this many times. Okay? You obviously are the only nutty one. You're the one that's in the denial of yourself. The only thing in the universe that doesn't know what it is a limited state of consciousness that has already acknowledged its wholeness. Wow. Strange notion. Strange idea that you could be more than one thing. Never mind what it is. The truth of you is always the truth of you, not in variation, but in singularity. Wow. Can't teach that. Wow. The universe is a sense of consciousness. It is a beingness. Obviously, there's no necessity for truth to identify itself. That's silly and doesn't. Thank you. More later.